Hello and welcome to Holly Hamel Hive podcast picture show. Today we have my beautiful friends from Divergent Perspectives. This is Sierra Brodland and Paul Schrag. So I've worked personally with Paul and Sierra, and we're just going to share a little bit about what it looks like to have a marketing and development company that is infused in magic and is infused in the human experience in doing this, because creating a business for yourself like this is such a transformative experience. And I've found personally from working with them in my personal coaching business that it was such a useful and necessary reason to have people that can help you through the many um, questions and identity development and brand development. And it's so important to have people that really understand the emotional and spiritual side of like what's happening here, because it can be challenging in those ways. And when you don't have a person that is holding your hand through that, it can be really a different experience. So I just want to introduce the two of them. Sierra is the creative director and Paul is the director of Chaos/Order, and they're both co-founders. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourselves?
Paul, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I've got a diverse background. My schooling is in psychology and journalism, mass communication specifically. Um, and I spent years as a journalist, and then got into marketing as journalism, as just kind of transformed over the years, and began running my own marketing company. I've had several entrepreneurial ventures since then, launched several businesses. This is the latest, and I'm happy to be working with Sierra.
Well, thanks. And it's crazy because, like, when Paul and I started talking, we've never met in real life, still haven't, but we have so much in common in our backgrounds, including education. When I first started going to community college, I was thinking, man, I'll do psychology. And then it kind of shifted gears a little bit when I went to university, and I ended up going to school for mass comm too. So our backgrounds are very aligned, although we're in different parts of the country and different stages of our life. We're kind of kindred spirits in a sense.
In a very real sense, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and I love that too, because I think that each of you bring something so unique to the table. Yet there's so much like synergy and continuity between you two. Each of you brings something from like a different generation, and like showing up in like the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and like being able to bridge those places, and then being on the East Coast and the West Coast, and there's just so many complementary things that each of you bring that I think it just makes such a beautiful partnership. It's really really nice, and it feels really good to be a part of that.
Thanks. Yeah, it feels really well balanced, I think. We keep
Yeah.
each other in check.
Yeah, we really do. And we also both, I think we bring equal parts divine feminine and masculine. It's an interesting synergy there.
I agree, and both of you are able to run the other. Like Sierra can run divine masculine energy, and you're able to run feminine energy, and it's just a beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful just marriage of skill sets, and it's been really nice to be able to be on the receiving end of that. So let's see. So what led you both to start this company? Tell us a little bit of your origin story.
Um, I'll tell the first story. We were together in the Event Horizon Challenge, which was produced by Holly, Brian, and Lomo. And I'd been invited by Brian. We were in the midst of a seminar exercise where we were just, introducing ourselves, letting people know what we do. I rattled off several of my professional qualifications, and there's a distinct moment in that where Sierra kind of blurted out something like "teach me," and the moment itself, it just hit real different than every other moment. There was auspiciousness to it, kind of echoed a little bit, and I knew in that exact moment that I needed to reach out to her, because it happened to coincide with my then ruminations about launching a marketing company. Um, and I reached out, we connected. It was the easiest thing. And a couple months later, we were developing a brand. And one of the first things I thought was, after meeting Sierra and just kind of getting an idea of who she really is, was to put her in charge. It was real easy. And, you know, there's enough old white men in charge of things. And I really believe that, you know, our viability as a species in the future is going to depend on letting women lead. And, you know, we made that conscious choice, and Sierra stepped right up.
Yeah, yeah. And I'd echo a lot of the same sentiments. Like a lot of people during the pandemic, I was doing a lot of self-discovery and shadow integration, and I was going through some major transits in my life. And my younger sister nominated me for a scholarship for the Supernova Society's Event Horizon Challenge. And that's where I met you. That's where I met my romantic partner, Benjamin. That's where I met who I didn't realize at the time would be my business partner, Paul Schrag. And it was pretty crazy how all of our threads became woven together. And I just remember, because of my high level of involvement, I figured if I was going to be nominated and have this free ride, that I would take advantage of it and participate. And because of that, I was gifted a psychic session with you, Miss Holly. And I think it was during that session you were channeling my ancestors, wherein you said something to the effect that I needed to be working with clientele that I felt more aligned with. And I was just at a loss, because I have a corporate gig with iHeartMedia doing graphic design, it's production design, it's tedium, it's draining, it's corporate. I didn't know how I was going to accommodate such a request. And then Paul called me out of the blue, like, hey, you want to do this thing? It's like, well, I guess I have to say yes to this, right? It's too auspicious to not. And
Right.
yeah, we've been working together a little over a year now.
I remember all of this coming together, and I remember meeting Paul through my business partner Brian Weiner, and they've been best friends for how many years now? Paul, how long have
Oh
you
my
been?
God, 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've known Brian since I was in debate in high school.
So they've been friends more years than they haven't, majority of their life at this point.
Yeah.
And it's been so cool the way that all of our lives have webbed together, because Sierra's romantic partner was one of my dear friends, and then Sierra's sister is my epigenetic coach and dear friend, and there's just all these cool triangulations, and the social geometry of the way that we all fit together has been just truly fascinating to watch. It's truly felt like tribal, and even though we are on different places in the country, and different walks on our journey, there's so much connection and networking happening that feels like it's on a soul level. So it's been socially exciting just to get to know each of you as friends, and then also professionally, and also on like the deeper inward journey, and being able to be there for you in that, being able to receive your gift of helping me create my brand and marketing. And it's been magical and fulfilling on so many different levels.
Yeah,
The
it's
way
been
it ought to
awesome.
be. The way it ought to be.
Yes, I feel very, very fortunate for all this. So, so what did each of you have as far as your vision of what it was going to look like, and then how did that come together and align for you?
Well, I definitely knew exactly what I had to bring to the table and what I wanted to learn from Paul. So that's pretty much where the conversation started, was identifying skill sets and what we could bring to the table. And for me, that's design. That's what I got accolades in. I did kind of do a little bit of everything in mass comm, but I never really got into the nitty gritty of business development, business planning, price structures, numbers, logistical stuff, just very much more on the side of creative direction. And I will say that there's some marketing background. I'm the perfect mass comm baby. My dad's in sales, my mom's a graphic designer, so I've kind of got a little bit of both, but definitely needed help from Paul in the logistics department.
I hear you. And
Yeah.
what about your vision, Paul? What did you see, and how did it coalesce to match up with Sierra's vision?
See, I'm going to throw the credit back on Sierra. I mean, we started by following the process that we got our clients through. It's a magical process. We named the thing, you know, we created a syncretic symbol. You know, this is what we do for clients. We did it for ourselves first. Sierra knew immediately what we were going to call this thing, Divergent Perspectives. First thing out of her mouth. And I, as I tend to do, want to chew on it, you know, think about it. And we just ended up where Sierra started, which happens all the time, where I'm obnoxious. I was like, no, let's think about it for a minute. And then it turns out I was like, damn it, Sierra's right again. You know, this goes to something that I keep coming back to, which is that is something Bucky Fuller talked about these most recent generations, that they're elders to previous generations in a very real sense, because they've grown up in a world that's so rich with information and knowledge, and things have opened up in ways that you know, we're going to do well, people that are older, to pay attention to what people who are younger than us have to say. She runs circles around me in so many ways. It's amazing. I mean, obviously I bring certain competencies and experience has value, but not as much as you might think these days. And the other thing is I'm just realizing, you know, Sierra's a magically gifted human, and in so many other ways. And for me, at first, the vision was coming to terms with truly doing what I said I was going to do. Is that was to let Sierra lead, and doing so has led us to some amazing places.
And sometimes there's some resistance. We're both fixed fire signs. We don't like to move a lot. Yeah,
We both got solid foundations, and it's more harmonious than you might imagine, given the people involved, actually.
Yeah, both of you, knowing each of you more on a, you know, one-on-one level too, like both of you have such vibrant and strong presence in your personalities, and I love that you've found that way to connect. And Paul, I'm deeply grateful for the way, because you are such a powerful individual, and you have so many skills, and you have so much wisdom and knowledge and experience, and I love how compassionate and humble you are to also let, you know, have Sierra, to give her such a platform to like raise her voice and to raise her vision too. And it's such a beautiful, wholesome thing that
it's not mine to give, it's hers to take, for real.
Oh, so sweet.
Seriously.
Such a gentleman, like truly, because I know that you have such a like a powerful set of skills, and such a
oh yeah,
thank you,
strong
thank
presence.
you.
You know,
Yeah, no, I don't mean to make myself sound incompetent, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
it's all
Paul
real
knows.
relative.
Yeah, Paul knows that he's a wizard. He knows how powerful he is. I think he's just eating some humble pie and trying to give me a little. I appreciate it.
It's nice, you know, it's such a really
Yeah.
nice example, because it's like, when somebody truly knows what they have to offer, they don't like have the need to prove it, you know. And so I think it's setting a really good example too, to say like, hey, like I am competent and confident enough in all of my skills that I can, you know, share this platform and like uplift the voice of, you know, of women, and like whatever's happening in the future, it's not
Yeah, Yeah, it's not a symbolic gesture. I'm dead ass serious.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. And you've always been, knowing you personally, like I've always seen you as an ally to folks that might not have the same amount of platform and privilege. And I've just always like really appreciated that in you. So that's just a
Thanks.
side note of, I could see all of you, both of you, like really working with people that need more of a signal boost too. So there's just a
Yeah.
lot of compassion and understanding for a diverse group of clientele and everybody like on their journey. So it's just been really beautiful. I know each of you are, have on the outside of your work life, you do a lot of social justice and promoting uplifting voices and allyship, and I just think that's so special and so beautiful.
Thanks, Holly.
Yeah. So why did the name Divergent Perspectives? Like, how did that come to be? Tell me the backstory of the magic of those words.
Well, I definitely I just knew that that's what the name was going to be as soon as I gave breath to it. I was thinking in terms of art, and I was thinking in terms of perspectives diverging on a horizon, and coming at it in terms of any single business that we deal with. We're not just looking at it from one angle, we're kind of treating it like a Rubik's cube, and we're twisting it and turning it and looking at it from the perspective of a child, or the perspective of a client, or a competitor, or the business owner themselves. And all of those perspectives are so crucial to building a business. You can't do it with one set of eyes. You have to look at it from every angle. And we work to help people actualize their visions, and in turn that helps us to transform the world into a better place. It came from a result of us talking about the work that we wanted to do together, and the types of services that we'd offer, the combination of esoteric and conventional techniques, and we kind of came to it together.
I love this. And then
Yeah,
you tell us a little bit about your logo and like what went into the creation of that, the symbology, the colors, the background thoughts on that.
sure, I can speak to that. This was another, we went through a handful of versions of it, but the original concept was, because we met each other in that alchemical container, and because we were both fixed fire signs, and that fire being a primary method of transmutation and conversion, and anything touched by fire will be changed in some way, shape, or form. This was like our first task as a team, was to brand ourselves. And with the name Divergent Perspectives, we broke the triangle up a little bit, but the meaning was still there. The colors, I think, kind of reflect a flame vaguely, but they're just bright and primary and in your face and bold, which kind of, I think, encapsulates who we are as people. I feel the same way about the font. It's big, it's bold, it's sleek, it's modern, it's timeless, and it kind of just captures us too in a nutshell.
Yeah, it was just another one of those things where Sierra was like, "Yep, this is it." And there it was.
We tinkered with it a little bit. We tried some different stuff, but the first one was
Not much.
yeah,
I
it was
love it.
really good.
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit about how you infuse magic into your work with clients.
I'll take this one. Some of that's proprietary. And on the surface in presentation, it may look quite a bit like what other companies do. And in a lot of ways it is. Marketing uses classic magical techniques. Whether or not anyone realizes that, marketing actually is, ceremonial magic in many ways. You know, and frankly, a lot of marketing companies are way better at it than a lot of people that call themselves ceremonial magicians. I mean, just in terms of tangible results in life, they change things on a massive scale in ways that are mind-boggling, that most people don't realize that they've been changed by it. design strategy, marketing, design, all of this stuff, it comes together.
Messaging, messaging in a major
Yeah.
way.
Um,
And frequency and repetition.
Yeah. So, marketing has the externalities figured out, and has created all these platforms that people use to connect. You can't create a spell or a floral bundle that's going to get your search rankings up on, various platforms. But the root of the word technology is techne, which is art. And there's an art to what we do that is divergent from the standard marketing script. There's more than mere strategy, mere technique. There's very specific choices in words, cadence, ways of using certain images in certain ways, the way they're presented and configured, the way they're arrived at, the way we choose them. That traditional magic does way better than marketing. But I think the most important thing is the traditional magical practice of honoring the individual, their uniqueness. Uniqueness, the root, one of a kind, unique. A lot of people think that uniqueness means just kind of special. And no, it means singular. There's nothing else like it. It's unrepeatable, and each individual is that very thing. They're truly unique. We honor that as the basis of everything we do, that each person has something novel to bring to the table, rather than cobbling together a collection of what, some algorithm has figured out to be the most effective means of spreading the word. We do that too. But we start with the notion that each individual and the means to promoting the individual and their greatest fulfillment is to honor that uniqueness.
Yeah, and understanding that each needs a personalized touch, we're able to kind of reflect those needs and desires and use empowering language and listen emphatically, and with sacred communication sort of being the backbone of our work together, this sets us apart from other businesses in a major way. And the proprietary part that Paul's talking about is one of his own device. I'm going to go ahead and kind of brag on him a little bit, because he put these together and we went through them for our own business, and that's why we know that they work. And the whole purpose is to clarify purpose for each individual business, and also to set intention and start to kind of put the wheels in motion in putting on different types of hats. And it really has helped most all of our clients, I think, no one's told us otherwise, kind of open and broaden their horizons in a big major way.
Yes. Yeah. Something that was coming up for me when you were talking about like the root words of things, the uniqueness, but also there's a universal oneness too. So it's like kind of addressing that existential paradox of we are all from one origin, but each of us have that unique piece too. So it's about what I felt like it was with my experience was really fine tuning that uniqueness that is just me, but doing it in a way that is accessible for others too, so that they can like it's my divine spark, but there's something that they see in themselves too, that they're like, ooh, okay, I relate to that little piece of it, and then they're like drawn to it, and that felt really aligned and really in harmony with this existential experience that I'm having. And so would y'all tell us a little bit about some of more of your like spiritual background, some of the things that you've studied, like what magic is your flavor and what type of things are you doing, and have you done that kind of bring you to this place of being able to practice and share that and infuse that in your work?
I want to speak to something that you just touched on, and then I'll brag about magic. You can't do one before you do the other until you figure out your unique position and what that is. It's very hard to find alignment with the whole. there's a lot of pressure from various institutions, and marketing companies, and people want to sell us things and so on and so forth, that emphasizes sameness and separation. And it works. I mean, we all end up lined up in ways, but there's a price that's paid that I don't think a lot of people realize in sacrificing their uniqueness. It's possible to inhabit your uniqueness and align with the world. You can do it with or without aligning with your own unique purpose first. And we insist as part of our process on finding that uniqueness first. You know, as far as magic is concerned, and this brings us back to magic, I think magical practice, like the marketing services that we provide, is unique to the individual. There's a lot of systems, there's a lot of schools. I have gone through several of them, mostly in the Western Hermetic traditions, but then I moved beyond Western Hermetic traditions because I realized there were deeper roots and deeper meanings in other traditions. And this is something that I think is emerging now as part of various philosophical and magical paradigms as well. You see it in the emergence of chaos magic, for example, which a lot of people misinterpret and misunderstand. But the people who've kind of created this paradigm are very specific about what it means. And it's that we return to an individual root before we can grow and become part of the living network of energy and other elements that comprise the social and other spheres that we inhabit. My background in magic began when I was about 18. I read a book called the Illuminatus Trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson and Robert Shea, which is a spell. I don't recommend anyone actually go and read that book because I read it and got into magic. Seriously, be prepared because it'll change you. It's a spell. The book itself is written in very specific ways with, NLP techniques and a bunch of other elements that are designed to kick you into what Wilson and other works calls Chapel Perilous, which is a reference to Arthurian legend. It's the place you go when nothing makes sense anymore, and then you have to kind of put everything back together. And that's what magic does for a lot of people if they walk into it unprepared, like I did. I spent the next 10 years figuring out what the hell had happened. And then I got even more serious about it, kept going, and here I am 30 years later, still studying new systems and new techniques and new elements of magic that are emerging right now in some ways that are absolutely brilliant and beautiful. What I'm working on right now is a combination of Kabbalistic and alchemical principles that I'm not going to name, but it's fascinating and beautiful.
Yeah, and we do tend to weave just a little bit of ritual, and depending on the client, there's sigilization that we'll go through. It really just depends on who we're dealing with and what their needs are. I know for yours, we kind of Paul broke down the logo with sacred symbology and meaning behind each individual element within the logo, which can be really helpful to people to kind of break things down to their roots. For me, my magical practice has been a lot more organic in its growth. I feel like the only difference between a witchy person and someone who may not consider themselves a witch is that they don't call themselves one. They don't claim their power, and I claim mine. It's been a long road, but I got there pretty easily, and mine's more based in ritual by way of fire, spell casting, cooking, which all feels alchemical to me. But it feels really good to be working with Paul and someone who has taken the time and really immersed themselves into the literature and the history behind all of it. For me, I'm just kind of discovering it as it comes up. And I'm very, very intuition based too. And it serves me well.
Absolutely, yeah. Knowing each of you, I can definitely confirm that. Like Paul's deep and studious approach to like taking it in through an intellectual format, and then kind of owning it and digesting it into that alchemical process, with digesting it with the spirit. And then, yeah, Sierra, I've eaten your cooking, and I've been around to see your beautiful way that you transform your appearance, and like the way that you express yourself. And you're definitely a force of nature, and it's been cool to get to know each of you in those respects. So one thing that really stood out to me, and I don't want to give away all your trade secrets, but I just want to kind of give a little taste to let people know what sets you apart. Is going through different. So there's I've experienced these different like queries. So I was given questions and different things for me to reflect and to think about, like what do I see in the future, and how do I set myself apart from my competitors, and who is my service for, and who is it not for, and what do I see in what the growth model might look like, and then all the way down to a proprietary, very cool. I guess it was. I don't want to give away too much of your secrets, but this word scramble game that Paul developed, that kind of generated some different phrases and magical statements. And I just want to take a moment to point out that like words are powerful. They are spells, so use them wisely. That's why we call it spelling. And so Paul, do you want to just speak on a little bit of that proprietary tool that you developed, and then kind of let the listeners know why words are so powerful and how that works?
Yeah, I the what she's describing is what we've dubbed a chaos generator. The thing about chaos is we think of it typically as synonymous with disorder, and it's not. It's, as one author put it, the sum of all orders. Um, Chaos has kind of a perfection to it, and we have a tendency to overemphasize structure. We have a tendency to overemphasize linguistic structure in our ways of relating to the world. And this tool was developed to circumvent that entirely and allow spontaneity to kind of reemerge in the process. People get they get bound up and tense when they have to deal with language. It has a lot to do with just horrible public schooling, and just a general tension about being perceived and being judged while speaking. This was developed to eliminate as much of that as possible, and it's based on an algorithm that was designed in Excel that jumbles words together in a very specific syntactic structure, and out of it comes a bunch of sentences, and you just cycle through the chaos until the sentences that hit properly emerge, and you write them down, and that becomes part of the work we do together.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that we find it so crucial that it's offered to every single one of our clients at no cost. It's built in. Like,
Yeah,
this is something that we offer to everybody because we think
yeah,
it's very important.
yeah. It's the first thing you do.
Just as important as everyone's magical practice and ritual is their own and sacred, each of these value proposition exercises are very, very personalized. Each one is completely unique.
Yeah, and we start with clients. We set hologrammatic goals. There's goals that account for the whole, the world and its needs, and the needs of the individuals. The needs of the individual, I mean, being the client, and their unique sacred selves simultaneously. There are, we think of things in oppositional terms, as if the whole and the individual were somehow in conflict or part of something separate, but they're not. And it takes some training to begin to think of things in that way, that things are seen as opposites, are part of a synergistic whole. This is found in a statement that comes from the original Emerald Tablets of Hermes, which was originally written in Arabic. And the statement, I think a lot of people are probably familiar with the truncated version of this, which is as above, so below. The original
Hmm.
statement, actually, that which is above is from that which is below, and that which is below is from that which is above. Um, and then we shrink it down, and this is what all Indo-European languages do. They kind of co-opt the thing and turn it into a easier, more digestible format. The problem is so much of the meaning there is lost.
Mm.
And this, the version as above, so below, we continually reify that separation that we keep talking about by shortening that way. And the original statement, I think, speaks a great deal more to the fact that above and below are part of a unified ground. They're part of the same thing. There's no difference, even though we talk about it. And again, this is magic at work. Magic and the use of language consciously changes meaning in very specific, unique, and powerful ways. Just one word moving here or one word moving there entirely separates things or brings them together, depending on how you speak. They're one thing, above and below. They're part of a singular reality. There's no separation. And there's really no more important thing to remember when deciding how you're going to present yourself to the world. That yes, you are unique, and yes, there is a whole, but they are part of something that is common ground.
Mm. I love that. I'm getting this imagery of just like the sacred tree, the tree of life, and there's this like root structure that is um, that is mathematically generated according to the trunk and the branch structure, the leaf structure, the venous structure, and all of those are connected. And so when I think about like as above, so below, and the root of words and being able to pull language and meaning and what you're actually trying to say, your message, being able to pull that out of the ether, like what's above, versus below, and more of a like Judeo-Christian setting, even thinking about like what's happening in heaven, or what's like my highest self, what's possible for me versus what's happening in this dimension on earth. I'm picturing this, this idea that the root of who I am here, that divine spark, the purpose that I was sent here to perform, can be nurtured and to thrive and to create and to have all of these like branches of where I get to express myself, and um, I get to pull those pieces of myself out of above, out of the ether, and create, like lay that over this manifestation here, like below on this earth. And working with the two of you like really helped me to do that, because that can be a little bit of a it can be a bit of an existential um
Crisis.
yeah. I was trying to think of a different discomfort. I was trying to come up with a different word, but crisis
If
is
you don't experience an existential crisis while doing magical work, you're not doing it right.
that's it. And it's so funny because I was before I got into this work with Paul and Sierra, I was auditioning. I was interviewing for a job in for a marketing company in Spain. And basically, the lady who was running the company said that at some point, when someone is creating their own, when entrepreneurs creating their own company, when they're going through the process of taking something out of the above, out of the ether, out of like the dream world, and pulling it into this plane, pulling it into the below, that in that process, that truncated process, that sometimes they will have this like existential crisis of like, who am I, what am I trying to say, like how do I want to show up. It feels so big and so like almost like leafy and like amorphous up here, but like what is really like at the root, like what nutrients do I need to pull in order to truncate this process for myself. And it's easy to get lost along the way. And so I felt um like Paul and Sierra were really like gardeners and tending this like tree of life that is my story, my purpose. And so pruning back little things that seemed like I was maybe doing it for the wrong reasons, or like feeling, social pressure and it wasn't exactly authentic, or, nurturing me, feeding me, giving me sunlight and nutrients in certain areas where I really, where they could see that I really wanted to grow, but maybe was dealing with some blocks or some old beliefs or something, or maybe they like move a rock out of my way so that this other like shoot could come up and expand. And it was just such an organic and loving and nurturing process, because there definitely was like frustration and tears and like, oh, just taking something so big and so important and putting it into a digital format, into a website, into a logo, into wording describing my service. It was a process. And I
Yeah.
really think that people need to understand that it's not just this black and white, just slap some words on a page and like move on with your life. It was for me, because I have so much emotion and spirit like infused in my business. I really needed a company and some facilitators that understood that and saw me as a holistic being having a crisis of purpose, and really trying to truly pull that out of this huge place and dream world, all the culminations of what's possible, and putting it into like what's the actual next digestible step for me. And so it was just huge. So I cannot recommend them enough. And if you feel at all resonant with this, if any of this like scares you, I just want you to know that you're in good hands, because it's a big process, and it should not be entered into lightly and or carelessly. And having these two support and nurture me along the way was just such a gift that I'm so compelled to like want to share it with others, because it was so powerful for me.
It's real easy to take the easier route, arrive at what you think is the same place, but it's not. It's not the same place. Um, you can half step your way to some good marketing. What we offer is more meaningful and therefore more effective and powerful. Um, when I use the word crisis, I see that as not as it's not a negative, it's a gateway. It's something to go through into something better. A lot of time when we avoid crisis, and again, by crisis, I don't mean a disaster. I just mean something that is that has to be worked through, as Holly, we did on so many levels in so many ways. You work through it, and once you're through it, you're there. The only way out is through.
It's that like
Something that I'm always telling Brian.
solve a coagulate, like you're in
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
When you're in the cocoon, you're like you've gone from the caterpillar, and you're like you're in the chrysalis, you're the goo, and that's the crisis, because you're like, I'm just full of like, your potential right now.
How do I turn from goo into butterfly?
Well, how is this going to turn into a structure?
I really love that you use the word digestible, because I like to think that when we work with people that we feel aligned with and we believe in what they're doing, that we can authentically use empowering language and provide tools to kind of break it down into little bite-sized pieces, and it feels decadent. Like, it's not even just digestible, it's delicious, it's fun. We make it less overwhelming and more rewarding, because we can kind of see past. So often we're just the ones getting in our own way, and I think it's something like, it's easier to clean someone else's house than to get yours in order. So it's easy for us to come in from an outside perspective and kind of clean up.
Yeah, there's like less entanglements and stuff, because there was just so much like wrapped into like, when I was doing this process, like, well, what would my grandfather think, and then like what's the generational thing happening here, and then like what's my like demographic versus like where I want to go. And there's just a lot of emotional enmeshment that can happen when you're trying to construct at this level. And it's so funny when I think about when I did this by myself, developing one of my earlier businesses, and like, okay, well, I need to kind of slap this onto a web page and get some information and just try to wing it. I felt like it was the difference between, yes, you can do that. There's so many options of being able to DIY the situation, but it's the difference between me like learning how to do like hot cross buns like on the recorder like in elementary school versus having my magnum opus, which is the way that I feel about the website that you helped me design, that I feel about that business. It feels like such a symphony of what I'm here to share, you know. And it's and I still of course love my beginnings. I love my roots and my hot cross buns, but at some point like I would not have been able to get to this level of like symphony without the support and help and encouragement um and almost I feel like in some ways because of some of my blocks with like, you know, money or like even with math sometimes or with you know, feeling like some structure and like kind of as an artist and a creative and a spiritualist kind of fighting against some of the that thing, and then Paul being able to put it in a way which I know is a struggle for you sometimes with me, Paul, and God bless
Not
you, he's
once.
so patient.
Not once was it a struggle.
Oh, bless you. But you know, just seeing just having some of those experiences where I was just white knuckling my way through the idea of,
Yeah.
you know, how do I, you know, do quarterly predictions, and how do I how am I going to put some of this, you know, creative like color and just magnanimous uh ideas, how can I put it into a digestible container so that I can take that next bite and like move forward. And sometimes it was just like, huh, you know. And so I just want to share that if a person is listening, seeing this podcast that's like me, that is in a creative um emotional based care based even spiritual type of company and business that is so much more than just like ones and zeros or putting it into, you know, best method or fitting it into a box of some sort. Like these are your people, these are your people that can really help you to figure out how to not only get it into lanes and organize it, but do it in a way that's still like just like it's an orchestra of all of the moving parts together, and that's what has set them apart from me. So thank you so much for all of that.
You're welcome. Thank you for going through it.
So I've mentioned a couple times, you know, what type of clientele might be drawn to you, and what type of people with any mental blocks that might be stopping them from jumping into getting help like this, or you know, maybe perceiving that they could do it on their own. So I want to just really get very clearly defined ideas of like, who is your ideal client, who is your service for, and who is it not for.
Well, it's interesting because as our business has grown and developed, we've seen all types of clients that I might not have expected but feel fully aligned with. Uh, and it seems to be people who want to help improve the quality of life of others. We've worked with life coaches, we've worked with health coaches, we've worked with photographers because art is so important. We've worked with a pelvic health therapist. We've worked with uh, a financial therapist, and that seems to be the kind of work that lights us up. We really have yet to run into someone who wouldn't benefit from our services. I imagine those people may be less spiritually alive and maybe more callous or pragmatic, and wouldn't see the value behind some of the less conventional techniques that and approaches that we take. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, you know, like Sierra said, we've had such an interesting range of clientele. Um, Again, everything from you know, life coaches and spiritual healers to someone that is developing a global network of websites to help encourage people who are disabled find opportunities for recreation outdoors. Um, I think we work with people who are reinventing themselves frequently.
Mhm.
People who are in kind of a bardo space, a space that is an in-between place, pardon me. And people who are finding either ways to revivify a current career or a current path, or diverge from the path they're on, is also frequently who we work with. But I think the thing that ties them all together is that they have a feeling, an idea, a brilliant concept that they're passionate about, and are looking for someone to help them actualize that vision and make it real in a way that mere marketing can't do. You know, procedural and technical efforts won't do that for most people. I mean, they think that's what was done for them, but it's not. It's something else.
Crafting comprehensive dreamscapes.
Yeah, that right there, comprehensive dreamscapes.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah, comprehensive. And you know, the dream world contains all things and all potentials, and bringing those potentials into, you know, three-dimensional sensory central space-time
As above, so
our
below.
specialty.
Yeah. Oh, I love this so much. So who would you say that that your service is not for? I know this is a little bit of a tricky question, but it's I feel like it's really important to even deeper clarify the people that are feeling called to work with you.
Squares.
I don't know. We've worked with a
I'm
couple
just
squares.
I'm just kidding. No, you know, people who already have a very clear idea of exactly what they want to do, they're probably okay. But people who aren't willing to go through a process of discovery, people who aren't willing to question themselves, people who aren't, you know, and that's not to say that confidence is unwelcome. Confidence is great, and a sure, you know, a sure path forward is a lovely thing. Could save us a lot of time and energy. But you know, people who are set in their ways and don't have room to discover new elements, new dimensions of where they may be going. You know, we tend to work with people who are starting off on new journeys, and that could be somebody that's had a career for 20 years, you know, like a couple of people that we've worked with very recently. You know, they just decided they wanted to do something else and had to completely reinvent themselves. And I think that's happening everywhere in the world right now. And I think I think that's part of why we came together, is because this is such a tremendous need, because everyone is reinventing themselves these days, whether it's, you know, being stuck at home and having to reconfigure their lives in order to work within the context that we find ourselves in, to the massive change that's happening in information and the availability of information. People are starting their lives over all over the place right now. People who want to stick to where they are, I'm not.
I think that this journey that we take our clients through is not for the faint of heart. It's for people who are ambitious, for people who are driven, for people who are ready to put in the time and the effort that it takes to launch whatever that is off the ground, because it does take those things, and it's part of our job to do that sort of hand holding and time management and organizational back of house stuff to make it more attainable to them. But we can't do it without them, because nobody knows their own business more than they do.
Exactly.
So I think that's who it wouldn't be for someone who doesn't have the time or resources or means to put energy into it. We need reciprocal energy.
Somebody who doesn't want to show up for it. you know.
We put in a lot into it, and we just want equal parts. Sacred reciprocity.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
I mean, we'll do you a sweet logo and nothing else, though, if that's what you need. I mean, that's not to say that every client we bring on board has, is trying to start their whole life over.
Yeah, sure. We do small jobs.
Yeah, we do little things too,
Yeah.
but our bread and butter seems to be the latter, and that's
full rebrands is
we're looking to do.
Requires so much just like support and like understanding and compassion, and like the fact that that each of you just are natural philanthropists and altruists, like having that human connection and just being patient, just understanding like the thought process that people have to go through and their emotional unraveling that sometimes has to happen. Like I just think that both of you are so so attuned to that and have so much skill and compassion in kind of coaxing and guiding a person through that journey, because it can be harrowing. And then when if a person's just very only methodical and it's just like, I can't deal with your emotions, like what are you doing, just tell me 1 or 0, and I think that that you have that special knack of being able to gently and lovingly help people through the process. So what other ways would you say that you are set apart from your competitors? That's the thing that I feel like is the most important to me, is the loving coaching and handholding through my own existential crisis from bringing things from above to below. But what would you say in your own words sets you apart from your competitors?
You mean aside from the fact that we excel at everything we do and everything we touch turns to gold?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that the biggest difference between us and our competitors is that we strive to meet people where they're at. Any of our proposals are going to be fully customizable, and that's from like the nature of the work, the deliverables, the timeline, the budget. Like we want to meet people where they're at, not just spiritually and physically, but also financially and emotionally. Like we're all humans underneath all this, and I think that's something that larger agencies might miss out on. And I don't think that you'll find this caliber of flexibility or loyalty or integrity or work ethic, for that matter, for what we charge.
Yeah, everything Sierra just said, I wish I'd thought of something better, because she just took it right out of my mouth. I think we have
So humble.
yeah, no, it's but seriously, that's what just happened. Sierra said it. We meet people where they are, and that means a lot of things. That can mean so many things, and again, it's unique to the individual, because each individual is in a very different place when they come to us. And we work with people who know exactly what they want. We work with people who have a vague idea of what they want and don't know how to get there. And in every case, we tailor what we do to the needs of the individual where they are. We take them through a process of discovering what that is, with a proprietary intake process and so on, to figure out where they are, and ask them unexpected questions that reveal certain things about where they are, and use that in the process of building a plan. And then we create a structure and work through it step by step until we arrive at where they hoped to be. Without fail, I think we've actually achieved that with every client we've worked with so far. And that's not to say that we won't stumble at some point, but so far it's gone very, very well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. It seems that you really look at the person and their efforts from a holistic standpoint. Like there's not so much like, here's the person, and then this is the separate thing that is their job or their career.
There is no
There's so much holistic approach of seeing how, when somebody is taking on entrepreneurship and doing a purpose like this, starting their own business and needing this type of branding, how personal and deep and like emotional it can be, and just like really like acknowledging that humanness, because it's like this imprint of that person's soul, that person's everything they've experienced in their past and their future hopes and dreams. I just feel like you understand how important it is to imprint that into their cause and their business and their magic, their branding. And so that's something that I really see myself, um, that I experienced myself, and that I see that made me want to work with you, apart from something that was like more corporate or dry, or like, kind of methodical, because I was able to get all those things done in a way that felt like I was really seen, heard, and understood. So
Thank you.
That's really lovely to hear.
Mhm. Yeah, there's
Um,
a lot of intuition that each of you has to see like when I'm needing that prodding, or when I'm needing that encouragement, or when I'm needing that just reassurance.
and again, we balance those things. The gentleness with the encouragement and with the structure and so on. And again, that's the holistic approach that makes
Yeah,
everything.
so some of our clients just need a dom, as we've found out.
And yeah, there were
Some of
times
them
for
do.
that. There were some times that I needed that too. It was like, all right, let's get, you seem to be like hiding from yourself, Holly. Like what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of failure, or are you afraid of success? And like just the intuition that each of you, had, to acknowledge what I was like going through on an emotional level with all of that. I just felt like I had like, you know, therapists and business consultants all in one. And I think that's really, something special. And I think that that's what, makes your service so incredibly valuable, like way more than you charge for it. And it's, because it's hard to find something that has all of that whole experience wrapped into one. Ah, so
The other thing that sets us apart, and I don't want to leave this out, is we have uh, a breathtaking range of capabilities. Um, we don't just do graphic design or copywriting or marketing strategy. We do all of the above and several other things that you can find on our website, divergent-perspectives.com. Um, we do it all. We can create packages that incorporate everything you could hope to need to launch a business, to market your business, so on and so forth. And this has to do with the fact that there's two people with a diverse background involved. And we do it all. And it's frequently at the same time.
Well
yeah.
said.
And then just adding that extra like magical infusion just makes it that much more fun and exciting and powerful and effective. So
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Every time it works.
what's the best place for people to reach you? Is it through the website? Do you do social media?
Yeah, we're on social media at Divergent Perspectives #1. And our website is divergent-perspectives.com. We are very responsive on all those platforms. And, we do free consultations. So if you're even just curious what kind of thing we could build together, let's talk about it. Strangers are just friends you haven't met yet.
I love that. I love that. Very good. Well, those of you that are viewing, be sure to look in the notes and comments below the posting for this video, and you can see links to reach them. And if you also look at my website, you can see a sample of what they've done for me and my logo, and which is part of the podcast picture show, my B logo that they designed. So everything is there for you to see, and I'm happy to answer any questions if people have want to speak to me individually about what my experience was with them. But yes, I fully endorse and promote these two and their work, and I'm really excited to see what is possible from everybody working together and taking on new connections in our fun web of friendship and social connections and networking. Can't wait to see where everybody's going to go from here, because it's been a really great experience for me.
Thank you, Holly. Thanks for providing this platform, and thank you for your lovely testimonial throughout.
You're so welcome. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Okay, that concludes our show for today. So anyone please reach out to me. Look in the notes for links to work with Sierra and Paul at Divergent Perspectives. And I hope you all have a beautiful day.
Okay. Peace, everybody.
Bye-bye.